There isn't a business process I have seen that has not been automated.
Some of those production notes went missing. That literally meant they had to throw out that entire day's production. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Playing catch up is so hard. Implement changes as soon as you can.
Business process in facilitating success through modern work and learning in Microsoft. We want to talk about today the Microsoft tools that might improve your business process and facilitate success through automation or Power Apps or any of that stuff. And you guys are going to correct me in a lot of this because I'm a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but I respect so much the things that you guys do. And talking today with Ben, our modern work and learning lead and Microsoft trainer and training expert, correct? Did I say that correctly?
It's close enough.
Okay. Thank you. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. Yep. And then Abi Phillips, modern work and learning engineer, really, but you specialize in, is it low code, no code and automation and Power Apps? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm getting it right.
So, yeah.
Okay. Good.
Sometimes there's more code than I would like.
More code than you would like.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I love it. In really like my inquisitiveness about Microsoft and the tools that we have is, in my experience, is that I've seen when I was a director of operations at another facility, I did not utilize the apps the way that I should have, really. And so I'm so interested to pick your brain with your experience. When you go to, whether it's a client or maybe it's a friend that has, a business or whatever, in your experience, are most organizations utilizing Microsoft apps well, not well, in the middle of the road? Where does it all land for you guys?
For me personally, I think it's always going to technically really be under for a lot of people.
But an underutilization?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't think it's like their fault at all.
Yeah.
Like I'm never like, oh, they're not IT savvy. It's just Microsoft has such a diverse platform with so many different options. Like there's a reason why we at Insight, people specialize in certain things, and that's because it's a lot.
Yeah.
So I do think people underutilize it, but I think most people are open to growing, and I think that's like the important part of it, is being open to learning and developing new skills.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, totally.
Would you say it's the organization also plays a part in it? Because I feel like coming to Insight, never having a modern work and learning department. I've always worked in IT. We've always dealt with Microsoft applications. It's just a different ball game here at Insight. So I'm looking back and I'm like, man, I didn't even know half this stuff existed. And I never really thought it was my fault, but the organizations I worked at, it was never a priority. It was never a thing they cared about. It's like, use Excel however you need to use it. Use Word however you need to use it. Obviously, you know how to use Outlook. We got Teams now. Those were the big four, and it never really went beyond that. There was never talk about any of the other apps or anything. So in my head, it's kind of like an organizational push. Like if they're on the forefront and they want their people to know about this stuff, they got to at least acknowledge that there are other apps out there, right?
Yeah. And I think another like huge part of the equation is time. It takes time to learn and develop new skills to like apply to like other apps. So if like a organization, like they don't have a lot of time to be learning or exploring, that's going to affect like them in the long run, because IT's moving like this. It's always moving, always changing. So you really got to keep up, but it is really hard to do.
Yeah.
Great point.
That's a good word. Ben, any thoughts on that?
It's maybe a little bit of the adoption curve phenomenon happening. I mean, even as of like the last couple of years, I ran into an organization that was still using an Access database to run part of their business operations. Like, well, there's better tools that are cloud hosted now. You don't have to run that program anymore.
But still, a Microsoft product, right?
Still a Microsoft product.
Just an old one.
Yep. And so, and similarly, there are a lot of businesses that I think run on Excel, like at a level that I'm not even capable of handling with Excel. Like they've had some Excel guru build out these really cool spreadsheets with multiple tabs with equations, with lookups, with a bunch of other stuff, right? That is built or working really well for their business, right? So it's doing some of what they need to, almost from an automation standpoint, if you think about it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think as far as like your standard Office apps, like that's been a requirement on resumes for a long time, right? Like Excel, Word, PowerPoint experience, those types of things. What I think I see when I think of things like Microsoft Teams, which is a unified communications tool, that has become fairly standard across organizations. Most people will use chat and they'll use Teams meetings, and that's kind of the extent of their Teams use. So from a technology Microsoft adoption status, I'd say we're just kind of skinning our knees a little bit with that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more that could be done there. Same thing with Outlook. Lots of people that are familiar with Outlook. And so, yeah, in general, adoption is fairly decent. What we don't see is a lot of organizations leveraging some of the lesser known apps within the Microsoft suite. So Microsoft Bookings, you can set up your own Book with Me link. You don't need Calendly. You can use Microsoft Forms. You don't need to go out to Google and use a Google form. Microsoft Forms is better. And by the way, it integrates specifically within your ecosystem in a very meaningful way when you introduce the Power Platform. And that Power Platform, I think, is what we're mostly going to talk about today. But that's like a glue or a bridge in some ways that really brings the communication, the collaboration, the documentation all together in the Microsoft ecosystem. And it does so, like we said already, in a low code or no code way. And I don't think that people are really realizing what they can do with that tool.
Yeah.
Or that set of tools, really.
Sure.
That was amazing. That's why he's the lead. That's why he's the lead.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I know you kind of gave us a brief overview of some of the Microsoft tools, and we do want to talk about Power Platform and all that good stuff. But just as far as, basic Microsoft tools, could you just give us some examples of some business processes that you've been able to streamline with some of those tools already?
Sure, yeah. One of the first things that I think of is just a very basic approval process. That approval process can be very different depending on the organization. But if you've got something where normally people are either filling out a piece of paper and they're setting it on someone else's desk to sign off on it, those types of processes can be very, very streamlined and a lot more efficient. So things like a capital PO approval process, right? Or maybe it's a budget approval process, or what are some of the other ones that we've done?
PTO or anything?
Yeah.
Or is that?
Yep, PTO approval requests, absolutely.
Reimbursements.
Yep. Reimbursements, yep. There's even, and I don't know if there's an approval bit to this, but we have one client with a quoting system that puts together an estimate, and then it goes through different stages and statuses as well.
Mm-hmm. I love that flow.
Yeah.
It's a great flow. Yeah.
Okay. You mean from like the coding side of things?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's beautiful.
Awesome. I love that your mind gets into like, you're not just thinking about the business side of things, but you're like, oh, I really enjoy the coding part of it.
The
like that's really fun.
technology
Yeah.
Oh, it's so much fun.
That's really cool. Awesome. Are there any other like common business practices that you've seen over, let's say, the last 5 years that you're like, hey, if you're not doing this, it will give you a quick ROI just by utilizing a tool?
Absolutely. So, and this is one of the things I like to tell people when we're talking about like an automation type of topic. The easiest way that you can automate something is having a template.
Okay.
Templates can do wonders for you in a lot of different ways, but you could take another app that's less known or less used is Microsoft Planner.
Mm-hmm.
And you can actually integrate Planner with the Power Automate and Power Platform and whatnot. But outside of that, honestly, just creating a template that has all the tasks that you might want to do, you organize it into your buckets or your Kanban board, then you make a copy of that every time you need to do that type of project or that type of process on a repeating basis. You're saving yourself from having to recreate the wheel every time. You're being more consistent. You're being more efficient that way. And now it's also visible and trackable. And so there's some accountability that comes along with that. All of these are benefits that you get when you digitize a process and when you templatize it. So that's at a base level what automation can do.
Yeah, that's great. And so you're specifically speaking on the project management side, or do you see other use cases for Planner where you could templatize as well?
Yeah, so we've actually worked with one of our clients on a commercialization process where they have a planner board that goes through several stages of their production, all the way from it's an idea.
Okay.
Right. So they might spin up a new planner board and they think this idea is going to be awesome or whatever. And it goes through research and development. It goes into some sort of testing and all of these different things. And maybe some market research. I don't remember what all the commercialization processes for them, all the way until post-production and support.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
So they're tracking this product and all the different tasks, and they cannot move from one phase of that until into the next until they complete that stage.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of project, but not really, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we're talking product.
Product launch, really. I mean,
Yeah.
from product idea and R&D even to product launch.
Yeah.
Which is really, to have visibility on and the ability not just to see what's coming, but to plan for it on an organizational level is pretty cool. That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Awesome. Abby, do you have anything on that side that you'd like to add?
For business processes, I always like to just throw this out. I want you to know it's not backed by anything, but I always say 90% can be used with Power Automate and can be automated.
Okay.
So to look at business processes as a whole, most of it can be automated to some extent or another, using emails, statuses. SharePoint lists is a huge utilization tool. So for anyone who's trying Power Automate, I always recommend to try to use SharePoint lists as kind of your data center in a way. But yeah, honestly, there isn't a business process I have seen that has not been automated, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. There's something that, as you were speaking, whenever I brag on modern work and learning, I always bring up Abby. And I always bring you to Ben and Dean, but there's something specifically that stands out we automated our PTO request process. Would you kind of break that down for us and kind of tell us, what you did?
Ooh, yeah.
You don't even have to give us the how necessarily, but what you did, how you made sense of it, how you divided it out, and then how you automated it.
Yeah. For automations kind of like that, the first thing is always the drawing board. I'm so happy we now have a whiteboard in the new office because I can now draw on that instead of like a little journal that I'll have to like draw ideas on. Basically, first structure, planning. What do you want the end goal to be?
Yeah.
What do you want the trigger to be is kind of the start.
So when you were designing the insight design or the process for PTO, what was your main goal in when you segmented?
My main goal is seamless calendar updating.
Okay.
The most challenging part of it was that we had department calendars and then we had a master calendar.
Yeah.
And I needed that if events change in the department calendar, they also need to be updated in the vacation calendar.
Sure.
So we're dealing with two different meeting IDs. It gets very confusing because you got to contact the meeting ID, but you don't know it.
Yeah.
So then you got to bring it into like the body of I don't know if you've ever clicked into a PTO request, you'll see the body is actually a string of numbers and letters.
Oh no.
That's what that is the ID, so I can then pull it back.
So this is all under the hood stuff that
Yeah.
the technology under how we're using our calendars.
Abby's
and
the mechanic here.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. She's like a mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
Something that I also love about it is it's not, and you alluded to this, is that it's departmental as well, right? So it's not just this one big calendar that's shared, but it's every department, and we've got 4 departments here, maybe 5, and then on top of that, you had different approvers, right?
Right.
So that's another layer to it where you're like, okay, it's not everybody's being approved by one person, where that might be maybe a simpler solution. But you're like, no, we have 5 different people who are approving PTO calendars. And like that, it's one of my favorite things. And anytime that I'm submitting PTO, I always think about you. And I'm like, I cannot believe that she built this. It's so cool. It's so cool.
Aww.
So I get giddy about that stuff. Mainly because I don't think that people know, and like that's all via Outlook calendar, right? And then whatever you use on the back end for the automation side. What was it that you utilized on that side?
Power Automate.
Power Automate. Awesome. Which that actually brings me right into my next questions, right? It's kind of that Power Automate versus Power Apps. Like, what's the difference? Can you give me some context to it? I think there's a lot of, maybe preconceived notions or thoughts about what each one of those things are and what they do. I'd love for you to give me a breakdown of Power Apps and Power Automate, and then tell me the difference and why they're different and how we utilize them. So let's just start with, what are they?
Well, Power Apps is an amazing platform that you can use to create custom internal apps.
Okay.
To talk about like that way versus like the old fashioned way, which is kind of like going off on a little tangent, but it is really expensive to create an app.
Okay.
If the old fashioned way.
So you're talking about like hey, I need to hire a coder to come in and build me a custom app for whatever MES in manufacturing, or it could be a simple business process within, maybe it's an HR solution or whatever inside of an organization. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. So like the apps you see on your phone.
Yeah.
That sort of context where it's a user interface.
Okay.
Trying to communicate different things, which will then be brought to a back end.
Okay.
So super expensive, super hard to maintain. That was kind of the past.
When you say hard to maintain, what makes those hard to maintain?
It is because of operating systems. I'm sure you've received alerts on your phone that you need security updates, that sort of thing.
Oh, sure.
The same thing applies to applications. As OSs update, so do applications.
Got it.
And it is a costly process. And, not every two phone is the same. Not every two phones are the same. Some people use Samsung. Some people use Apple. Those are two different OSs. So that's two different apps you're going to have to structure out.
Yeah.
When you see the notification to update an app on your phone, that's maintenance.
Yeah.
Maintenance was done. Now you need to update the app on your phone to be able to use what's been maintained and the newest version. Any changes, any cleanup been done.
And so what I'm hearing you say then is anytime that there's an update in the OS, there's got to be an update in your app. Is that true?
Not necessarily always, but it is a lot of maintenance.
Okay.
It is a lot of maintenance.
You have to pay attention to all the changes in the OS and any other technologies that go along with whatever's holding your application.
I mean, the worst thing, like you don't want a bug,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but then luckily we have Power Apps, which is a way to locally within your Microsoft environment create and send out internal apps for your workers to use. The most amazing thing about it is, number one, it's pretty low cost. I mean, the main cost for it would be developing it. After it's developed, there's really no maintenance to be done. Microsoft does it all for you.
Wow.
It stays as follows Microsoft security, so you really don't have to worry about it. You basically create and say bye.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Could you give me an example of like something you've built, or for whether it's a client or personally or whatever on Power Apps?
Yeah. The fad kind of right now is onboarding and offboarding.
Okay.
So an app that HR and IT can use to request a new user, or to request a suspension, or to request a termination. And then, so it's going to be all users, entering in the data. And then the moment that you hit send, then Power Automate comes into play. And then that's when the behind the scene things are running, that someone's going to be sent an email, a file is going to be sent to a server, and then that CSV is going to be picked up in that server, and then it's going to create that user in their Azure. So that's kind of like to segue into Power Automate.
Yeah.
Power Apps is kind of what the user sees, and then Power Automate is what's happening behind the scenes.
So Power Apps is kind of that UI UX like interface, and then the Power Automate is the code that facilitates the conversation. Is that right?
Yeah,
And I've
pretty
got
much.
that. Okay.
Would a Power App ultimately end up as an app you would download to your mobile phone?
So it
Or
would,
maybe could it?
yes, to some extent you would use the Power Apps app.
And that's within.
And then within it,
okay.
you'd be able to see the list of apps you have access to, and then you'd open up the app.
That makes a lot more sense.
And that's how it stays secure with Microsoft policies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough.
I don't know. I'm like smiling so much right now. Like I'm so giddy about this stuff and like learning about it. I don't know that I've smiled more on a podcast than I am on this one. Right? It's so cool to me.
I have a question later on this episode. It's going to make you smile even more.
Okay, that's great. That's great.
I do want to add to that.
Yeah, please.
So Power Apps in itself is a low code or no code solution as well.
Okay.
And it does generate the code for the app, the Power Apps in itself. So you can do quite a bit with just Power Apps if you wanted to. But anytime that you're interacting with the app, you're usually going to want to have some sort of data, right?
Gotcha.
So then in order to connect to that data set, you need something like a Power Automate connection, or to be able to send out an approval process, or to be able to send out an email.
Sure.
So Power Automate automates or facilitates a lot of that connection and that conversation, if you will, between the app and the other services within the Microsoft ecosystem.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the app in itself does have code associated with it, but you get to do some like UI boxed stuff, right? And
Yeah.
type in, kind of like you would a PowerPoint.
Yeah.
It's not too different from creating a PowerPoint, and then it generates the code for the app.
That's so interesting to me. So what I'm picturing in my head, and correct me if I'm wrong, is kind of this like blank white space. And then do you kind of get to like pick your shapes, color, sizes, and kind of put things together like that? Or
100%.
okay.
Yeah, so there are like containers that you use, and then you can put buttons in the container.
Okay.
I don't like calling Power Apps necessarily no code
Okay.
because it uses, it's called Power FX. It was based kind of off of Excel formulas. So if you know Excel formulas, you'll kind of see it. But say if you add a button, there will be a little formula and it'll say on select equals. And then you would have to, you would not want to know what that button does is what it's asking
Sure.
is on select.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to navigate to a new screen, you would do navigate and then parentheses and then the name of the screen and then, close the parentheses.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of like learning how to have a conversation with it,
Okay.
but it's really simple. Other than that, like there's a lot of true false statements. Like, do you want this to be visible, true, or false?
Yeah.
But yeah, there is just a little bit of, that coding mindset more than like coding and actuality going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. That makes sense. Abby, I know you're super creative and kind of an artist. I guess, would you consider yourself an artist?
I think what I do, it gives me a lot of creativity, and
Yeah.
that's what I really love about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like my favorite part is like getting to whiteboard it or stuff. Like I have a journal by my bed that like when the client's like, hey, we want you to do this process. And a lot of times when they ask me that, I say, yes, I can do it. But in my head, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this yet, but I know it's possible.
Right.
So then it's like 2 a.m. I'm like, oh, I know. And then I'm like writing, like scribbling down, like use this component, do this, call this variable. And then I'm just like going to bed thinking about these automations and apps. And the best part about it is there isn't one way to do anything.
Okay.
You can say, hey, I want this approval process. We could like the PTO process.
Yeah.
We could use approval components that's baked into Power Automate, or we could do the route that I did, which was using delegation access in Outlook. So like there's not one way to do anything,
Okay.
which is really fun about it.
So you have creative license to be like, hey, I think this is probably the best solution. Or at least you can say, this is fine, but maybe I try something different too.
Yeah.
That's really cool. What's your favorite Power App that you've built out? Can I ask that? Or you're like, they're all my favorite. They're all my children.
Yeah. No, there's one that I'm like just in the beginning and I'm just starting to work on it. And it's one of the ones where I'm going in and I'm like, I'm not entirely sure how I will do some of this, but I know I will. And I think it's like my favorite right now because it's new and exciting. And like, I just created the app before we started this. So it is just a blank canvas right now,
Okay.
but I think it's like all the apps in the future are my favorite.
Okay. Okay. I love that. I love that.
Interesting.
Oh yeah.
I had a question. This is my question that might make you smile. We've been talking about how you can use Power Automate and Power Apps, Teams, and at your workplace. If your company isn't investing in Power Automate into a solution for your whole team, is there a way to use Power Apps or Power Automate for you personally in an organization with your access to your M365 environment that you have? I'm not saying you're an admin in any realm, but could you automate some things yourself for your own personal workflows within the business? Or is it more of a higher level, it gets done and everybody does it?
Oh, you can do
great
a lot
question.
for yourself.
Can you, like,
I have a lot going right now
I
for
would
me.
love to do a lot for myself, and I don't do any for myself. So I'm like,
Yeah.
is there an opportunity there for me to dig into this a little more to make my process and workflows a little faster, automate some things without affecting anybody else?
Yeah,
That's a great
and
question.
the best part about it is like most Office license that people are assigned, it comes with Power Automate. It comes with Power Apps. It's not like something that you have to
Add-on.
pay extra
Yeah.
for, like the free version, like it's available for most people. And most organizations, like there's not really a reason to block it. So like most organizations, like you can go and try it today.
I actually have a question about going back to kind of your artistic mindset, and you're obviously designing solutions for people that have to use these day to day. When you're thinking about the design itself and the process, do you have a creative process that you're running through? And then what questions are you asking to make it user friendly, I guess?
For like the Power App side, we are very blessed with that. It is constantly growing, and they now have an accessibility section, which I really love because, everyone has their own idea of what looks good.
Yeah.
And with Power Apps, it'll check you.
Okay.
And the coolest one that I've seen so far is that it will call out to you being, hey, don't use these two colors together. Colorblind people can't notice.
Oh,
No way.
Wow.
And that like saved me once, and I was like, wow, yeah, because there's a lot of colorblind people out there.
Yeah.
And you like most people when you're creating an app, like you're not gonna be like, oh, what about the colorblind people?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's Microsoft being like, hey, colorblind, and I'm like, oh, okay, perfect.
Okay, yeah.
And then also like font sizes will call out too. So
And that's that accessibility like feature.
Yeah,
Is that an AI option that's working that, or I guess what portion of that on Power Apps, or how does that work, I guess?
so it's kind of like, so for Power Automate, it has this thing called a flow checker, and it will
Okay.
basically run through your components and let you know if it's valid.
Okay.
Like if the argument you're saying makes sense, if
Gotcha.
you're using the right variables. And then Power Apps, they just kind of have like a little section, and you click in it, and then it'll just kind of scan it all and be like, you have 20 suggestions, 5 are urgent, which means like this is like it needs to change because of the accessibility features. But there is like AI involved. Like there is now Copilot for Power Apps.
Okay.
It's learning.
Okay.
It's learning is
Learning and growing. in
it's
the AI
learning. It's
process.
learning
Yeah.
and growing
Yeah.
each day.
We might have more to talk
Yeah.
about with that in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the future, I think it's going to be
substance.
really, really good.
Yeah.
Cool.
But right now, he's still a baby.
Yeah.
You know.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
He's only been around for a year or so.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe a little less. Yeah. Give him some time. He'll grow some legs.
Yeah.
What about when you are connecting with a client and trying to figure out, their need and things of that nature? Do you have a certain process that you're following through that for your design, or is that more or less, hey, I just want to hear your pain points?
It really depends. Some clients, they're like, these colors, this,
Okay.
this, and they're giving me a checklist, and
Okay.
I'm like, all right, cool. And sometimes they even draw up mock versions,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I think is really cute.
It's
Like,
the detail-oriented people
yeah,
that get
I'm
towards
just like,
that, right?
I love that you took the time and like you care about this as much
That
as
would be
I
me.
do, because
Yeah.
I care so deeply about all my little like automation and app children that I have wandering around.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
App children, I love it. That's so good.
I do. I consider them my children. I love them all so dearly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you, when they come with a like a rough sketch or something like that, is that helpful for you?
Yeah. Sometimes like in my head, I'll be a little bit like, aw, because like my 2 a.m. thoughts, I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this. And I'm like, oh, I can't do that.
Yeah.
But for the most time, I love it. I love it when people care, because there's a lot of times that people ask for a process and they're just like, we just want it done.
Yeah.
Which I love it, because it gives me like a creative outlet to, do what I want, do what I think would look good. But like client knowledge is like invaluable.
Yeah.
Like I want to know what they think. Like, oh, when I see the color purple, I get angry. And I'm like, okay, perfect. I will not do the color purple.
Yeah,
no one
right.
said that to me before.
Purple's enough.
If they did, you would.
Yeah, I don't know
what
why
to
I
not
made
do.
that up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to use purple.
Well, man, so even thinking about Power Apps, obviously, there are several businesses that are like, hey, Power Apps don't usually like work for me. What are the limitations that we're faced with on the Power App side?
So Power Apps, I would say, is for like a small to medium idea of an app.
Okay.
If you're thinking like, when we call them apps, but they're typically not nearly as complex as like the apps on your phone.
Sure.
So we kind of hit a boundary, like for a lot of apps, as I follow the rule, like 16 screens. So it can have 16 different screens, because afterwards it will start to lag.
Okay.
You can go above 16 screens, but I've just noticed it kind of affects speed. So Power Apps are kind of smaller ideas, or like a process, like a multi-step process, something like that. And then if it's going to be a big guy with more than 16 screens, something like that, then you're going to want to look into like a custom app.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I hope in the future, when Copilot kind of works into Power Apps more, you can ask. Sometimes I've been guilty of this, asking Copilot to do something, not necessarily tell me something. Like I wanted to figure out an equation or whatever, and it say, well, I can't do that. I can only give you information. I'm like, but it's just a matter of time where you ask Copilot to trigger some Power App automation, and then you can get your whole flow by just asking Copilot, hey, do this. Can you do this for me? And it does its thing. Like at some point, that's got to be coming, right?
Yeah, there's actually a couple of things that I could piggyback off of that thought process. So, but before I do, remind me of that question. I do want to follow up with you on the idea of using Power Automate yourself.
Yes.
So Power Apps, you could try and do that for yourself. I don't know how useful that would be. I mean, you have other tools like a Microsoft Form if you're just trying to do basic data entry and get the same results every time. So generally, the Power App is geared more towards a group. The Power Automate side, though, there are definitely things that you could explore. And what Microsoft has started to do is build some of these into the UI. So there might be within Teams, it's called workflows. So there might be different things that you could action with a workflow. Or in a Microsoft list, you might be able to say, send me a reminder every time something like this thing happens. Those are basically lightweight automations that you can do within the platform yourself. But what I do like to warn people is, don't just take the cool tools that Microsoft has given you as a user and go out and build awesome business processes that are outside of yourself, because then invariably that data is on your account. You win the lottery, you move to Hawaii, and that's going to cause all kind of heartache for your business.
Okay.
So I do want to make sure that warning is out there. Like you really need to start with like a service account if you're going to be building a business process that's bigger than yourself.
Just like sharing out files the correct way of a file share. They need to be in the correct folders with the correct permissions. You don't want to be sharing out of your OneDrive.
You got it.
Big business stuff. It needs to be in the appropriate place. It
In
can
the
be
shared
your
space.
document in the appropriate place.
You got it.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, and on the Copilot side of things, yes. I mean, there's some things that it's getting close to being able to do. You can describe an app that you want it to create, and it will try to set you up with an app.
Yeah.
You can they've come up with I think they call it actions, and they've buried it and they've moved it. So I'm not really sure where they're at with this process.
Yeah.
But effectively, Copilot you could say, I want to know, maybe I want a summary of all my internal emails, just as an example. I can't think of a better one. I want a summary of all my emails every day that are from internal, or maybe just from my manager or something like that. You could actually ask Copilot to do that for you, and then it would schedule a flow, a Power Automate flow effectively, that would be Copilot running in the background every day to send you that information.
Question about Power Apps specifically, and we talked about the limitations themselves. I'm wondering, when would it make sense, especially for our manufacturing friends, when would it make sense to merge a Power App into, say, like an ERP or a CRM? Have you ever seen anything like that?
Yeah, I think from the ERP side or a CRM side, a lot of times the ERP or the CRM is going to be doing the heavy lifting of what you want to do. Not necessarily from a Power App standpoint, but from a Power Automate standpoint.
Okay.
There are all kinds of connectors. So for the most part, we've talked mostly about Power Platform within the Microsoft ecosystem. So connecting to, Outlook, to approvals, to Teams, to other Microsoft 365 apps, if you will. But you can connect to other third-party services as well. And so there's a whole store, if you will, of connectors that you can go out and connect to third-party services. So your ERP or your CRM may very well have a Power Automate connector that you can use and leverage. And so you could say, when this happens in my CRM, do this action within Microsoft 365.
Yeah. Crazy. That's cool.
And even if they don't have a connection, like that's what REST API is for.
Okay.
That you can just make a connection yourself.
Okay.
Awesome. That's sweet.
And I do want to make sure we call out, so we have an app dev team at Insight. And so when we get into things like custom APIs and things, we have a team totally capable of all of that as well.
Yeah. Yep, that's true. If there's a company out there and they're like, I want to try this out, like I want to try out Power Apps and or Power Automate, and I want to start something, where would you tell them to start?
I feel like there's two different kind of philosophies you can go with it.
Okay.
You can either go like, what's the biggest pain that is kind of hindering your company right now? Like, where is it like a paper trail that it's not efficient? You're putting data into an Excel sheet and it's all hand done. You can really take the hardest one that's fixing it would benefit the most people, and you could fix that first. And that's going to put you at a good place to do more in the future, because everyone's going to be like, oh, thank goodness this process is so much easier now, and less done by hand. Or you can kind of take the approach, hey, let's do the easiest process first. Like, what's a short little process that we can do, get familiar, and then we can grow from there, is kind of the two ways I would recommend.
Priority or low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ben, what would you think?
Yeah, and I think from a practical everyday standpoint, if someone wanted to get moving on Power Automate tomorrow or today, what they could do is go to make.powerautomate.com.
Okay.
Make.powerautomate.com. That'll get you into the Power Platform. There are other apps that are available under that. It's not just those two that we've talked about primarily today. One of them being Copilot Studio, which used to be Power Virtual Agents, so chatbots, and you'd have to do a tree of like, if they say this, then do this.
Yeah.
All that's kind of gone away with generative AI. It's really awesome. But anyways,
Yeah.
I digress. So make.powerautomate.com, and there is a templates section. So you can actually click on templates and then see what kinds of cool things people have already created. And it'll even show you with a little number indicator next to it how many times that template's been used. So like I've seen a couple of them that are like close to 1 million uses.
Whoa.
So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
So
Popular.
you can do it by like popular or
Newest.
There's different tabs and stuff like that. So
That's so cool.
So go check it out. See what the trigger is and what different connections there are, and play around with it.
Yeah, that's great. Also, if you have questions, get a hold of us. on the
Info at
insight.
trustedinsight.com.
Yeah, exactly. Something, and I say that, I'm going to plug our own thing right now, but I say that because, you want to play with it. That's great. You want to learn it and do your own thing. Fantastic. Please do that. If you want somebody that you've got something specific you want to build, like get someone that knows the system, knows the capability, knows the ability of the Power Apps themselves and what can be done with them.
Absolutely.
It brings me so much joy to see you guys do what you do because you love it so much, and I really appreciate that about you. And even speaking into that, I think my next question is whether it's Power Apps or Power Automate or really anything specific to modern work and learning, what are the new trends that you guys are seeing as it pertains to modern work and learning, especially as AI is evolving?
That's really the main trend is AI everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything specific?
Well, I already mentioned a little bit, but the switch from Power Virtual Agents, which is just a kind of a chatbot feature that you could use within the Power Platform, to now being Copilot Studio is really phenomenal, because what it does is it says you can really have someone, obviously at Insight we could help you with this, but if you have your own internal IT staff, they would be at the level that they could spin up a Copilot Studio as well.
Okay.
So it's not very complicated. You go through and you set your references. Where do you want the data to come from? Is it from a public website? Do you want it to come from a SharePoint site? And when you bring a more narrow focus on the data set that a generative AI is looking at to give you answers, you're going to get more concrete answers, less hallucination. And so it's a really great tool to do it that way.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one of the things that I in the Power Platform realm that I see that's really becoming a big deal. Coming down the pipe is basically agents that have like boss agents and the orchestration where like there's tasks that or business processes that are able to be done. Actually, so I don't know if it's a Microsoft term or if this is just a general term, but there's a term out there called hyperautomation. And so what happens is it's looking at a business process in whole and the different tools that are needed in order to accomplish that business process, connecting them all together in an automated way. And I mentioned that agents piece because you could actually have different agents doing different tasks. And so you might have like an orchestrating agent that says, I need this agent to go do this, and I need this agent to go do that. And then they come back, and they're also looking at ways that it can even identify when there's issues within the process itself and self-heal.
Wow.
And self-correct.
That is crazy.
So, yeah.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Abby, anything on your end where you're like, oh man, I really feel like this is a trend that I've been experiencing or seeing?
Yeah. Oh, it's hard to top that. But just in general, I think really a nice blessing that's come out of AI is, I think, user empowerment in general. Like when I'm talking to users now, they feel more informed because, they have like these outlets like Copilot to get information from. Where I know that typically, like prior to that, the user would ask me a question and I'd be like, that's great, and I can totally help you out. But you could also, like, Googling would give you the exact same answer in a little bit less time.
Okay.
But now, like, they feel like Copilot's almost like a friend or like IT.
Yeah.
Where they're going and they're figuring stuff out on their own. And I love that user empowerment that we're now seeing.
Yeah.
And they still come and they're like, hey, Copilot told me this, but I'm not totally sure. And, that's when we can step in and be like, all right, well, here's where Copilot was right. Here's where it may have been wrong. But people just having that empowerment, especially people who like aren't like living their life about IT,
Sure.
like they got other things to be working on, other things to be concerned about. But now like they feel a little bit more confident in it, and like seeing that confidence, that's only going to grow their understanding and appreciation for IT.
Yeah, I like how you said that, Abby, and you parked on something that's super important, because I think oftentimes we talk about these things and get excited about them because our lives are like integrated with technology, right? But then you as we talk about our business friends or our sales friends or the people that are, working on the accounting side or the HR side or all of that, they're not thinking AI or new modern work and learning trends and stuff like that. But I do like empowering the user to continue to be more efficient, continue to think outside of the box, or even like prompt AI. Like this, I have an idea of this. Like, can you help me flesh this out? And Copilot will like start to dream with you, which is really, really interesting. And I actually heard that they're going to be doing some things to make AI a little bit less personal on some things, because people are like finding bonding and like relationship with it.
Oh,
But
yeah.
Yeah.
it's really interesting. But all that to say, it is such I like how you put it, a tool for empowerment. I think it's just encouraging to see how we're moving forward on that side of things and how it can help with ideas and create with you. So I love how you put that. I think last question that I'd like to ask, and this is kind of the way that I tend to end podcasts, is give our listeners something for free. If we're talking business process, streamlining, knowing that there's apps available that you're probably already paying for, what is it that they should be doing? Like, what's one piece of advice that you would give them?
I'll start with a story about a friend that I know that works at a manufacturing firm.
Okay.
That still has very important production notes that are written on pieces of paper. So what happened is that, and I think this happened maybe in the last year or two,
Okay.
they're still taking these notes. They haven't fully integrated a new ERP system. The old one doesn't do what they needed to, whatever. And for compliance reasons in their industry, they have to make sure that they have these notes. Mm-hmm. It's very critical for them, business critical. Well, because they're not live capturing that data and then saving it or storing it, and it was a paper-based process, that means it gets scanned in at some point during the day, or at the end of the day, or at the end of the shift. And what had happened is somehow some of those production notes went missing. That literally meant they had to throw out that entire day's production. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Whoa.
Yeah. Lot code or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about business process improvement, earlier I gave the example of just a simple planner, repetitive thing, right? Mm-hmm. Oftentimes there are certain things that do feel better just to write. I get it. But when we look at protecting the business, we don't want to rely on a single person that has all this knowledge in their head and it's not transferable. We don't want to rely on just training people verbally when they come that this is how we do things here. We don't want to rely on paper that could get burned up in a fire or could get misplaced and lost and then lose out on production. We want to have systems in place that are digitized, that are automatically saving to the cloud, that then can be traceable, that can be tracked. You can take action on them when they're entered, right? You also then get data and insights and all kinds of things that come from this process of digitization. So my one, I guess, recommendation is just really take a hard look at your business and say, where is it that we're still just kind of really old school, word of mouth or paper based, or we're just really dependent on this person to do this particular role.
Well, what you're talking about, I think too, it kind of integrates this risk assessment to a certain extent, right? I mean, if you're talking about, thousands of dollars or even,
hundreds of
thousands is what you said, but even thousands of dollars because of a simple data entry, that might be where you're like, oh man, my process is actually risking money to the business in and of itself. So
yeah,
that risk assessment, I like that, Ben. Thank you. Abby, what do you have?
I think right now we're in an age where things are growing even faster than they were in the IT world, which it has already been moving very, very fast. If you think about the 90s to today in 2025, playing catch up is hard. Playing catch up is so hard. Implement changes as soon as you can.
Yeah.
The moment you see something that's like inefficient, such as a paper trail or something like that, address it now. And I think a lot of people right now, they're in kind of a mindset to save money and that sort of thing. And yes, saving money is really important, but also saving time. People say time is money. So making changes, like you need to adapt with the current IT setting that you're in to be successful and to stay where you are. So yeah, I guess my main thing is, do it now. Do it now. Whether
Like,
it's make a
don't be
plan.
afraid of change or innovation is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get in talks with someone from IT if you don't know, or do your own research. But the changes aren't going to stop coming.
Yeah.
They're going to keep coming, and they're going to come even faster now that we have AI. So if you're using outdated processes now, like 2 years, they're going to be archaic.
Yeah.
So stay with the trends. They're important. They're there for a reason, I guess.
Yeah. So much wisdom in that, and out of both of you from this whole episode. Thank you guys so much. Man, streamlining business processes is not an easy thing, but it can be if you have somebody that knows how to utilize M365. At least that's what I'm hearing you say. And obviously with your expertise on both ends and even giving us examples today, you've proven that it's possible. So thank you so much for your time and your energy and coming to spend time with us. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate you. Thanks.